What's going on, guys, and welcome back here to another weather forecast, my friends. My name is Andrew Heischman, and for today we got ourselves a lot of things that we do need to be talking about here. A lot of precipitation across both the South and the Pacific Northwest. Some regions could experience some flooding. We'll have to look out for that. Also, potential for some thunderstorms in the South as well, and maybe even a storm system around the 26th that we're watching here. Could drive some unwanted winter weather, maybe even some thunderstorm activity as well, and a bit of strong winds across the central country will be expected around that time period. And of course, we will be talking about all kinds of other things here. Now, guys, before we go ahead and get on into it, if you are not already, consider hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button as well. It'd be greatly appreciated. Now, a huge shout out goes to Jay, Dogcash, Michael, and Micah for the support towards our new computer. Thank you guys so much for your support. And if you guys would like to help us out and get a new computer, as you guys probably know, we lost ours due to me spilling a drink on it. This computer cannot handle streaming. It's an older computer that's barely on its, pretty much on its last legs here. I mean, this thing was made in 2013, so it's a little old, and it's not even the best computer anyways. It's just what I got. But if you guys would like to support us in getting a new computer so we can get back on our feet, you guys can check out in the bottom right-hand side of the corner, we have our Venmo and our Cash App. It'll be greatly appreciated. So once again, big thank you goes to Jay, Dogcash, Michael, and Micah. Once again, thank you guys. Now, guys, we have a lot of stuff to talk about, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right on into it. Alrighty, guys, so hop on over here into the radar, taking a look at the current view across the country. Really not a lot going on, as we do have a lot of high pressures we're getting ready to see currently in place across the nation. We do have ourselves a little area of disturbance, a little area of low pressure across eastern Colorado and western Kansas that's kicking off. This system's not expected to do anything. It's just honestly going to be fading out here relatively soon, so really not a lot to talk about there. In the Pacific Northwest, however, we have a lot of storm activity that is getting ready to be impacting those regions. Not just one storm, but multiple storm systems is expected to be impacting those states in the Pacific Northwest. A lot of moisture, potentially a lot of flooding as well. We'll definitely get more into that here in a few moments. And taking a look down here towards Texas on the southern coast, not really a lot going on, but we do have a little bit of precipitation, a little bit of moisture working its way into the region. Across the south upcoming here, we do have ourselves a little bit of rain, especially for places out there by like Louisiana. Could get a couple of inches of rainfall, which once again, we'll get more into that here in a few minutes as well. There even is a little risk for thunderstorms across the Gulf Coast here for the next 2 days or so, starting tomorrow, which we'll also get into here in a minute. But yeah, that's just really the current radar view. Not really a whole lot going on at the current moment. If we do overlay the current atmospheric pressure, you can see that we have a huge ridge, a very large area here of high pressure. 1,040 millibars is very, very high pressure, keeping things relatively calm, although quite cold, as you guys probably have been telling. But yeah, so that high pressure is in place here, which is keeping things mostly out of the country, keeping things relatively good overall. Hopping on over here into the Storm Prediction Center's outlook here regarding the potential for thunderstorm activity. So like we mentioned, there is going to be the possibility for some thunderstorm activity here for tomorrow and the day after. For today, as you guys can see on the current day one outlook, we are not expecting any forms of thunderstorms in general. No severe weather, of course, and not even any thunderstorm activity for today. So we are good, not expecting any storms. However, tomorrow, here for Saturday, we do have ourselves a area here where thunderstorms will be possible. Now, this is not a severe weather risk. This is just a potential for some thunderstorms here in the eastern coastal areas here of Texas, towards like Houston. We could get a couple booms of thunder out there towards like Louisiana as well. There is a bit of moisture, like we talked about, that's going to be rolling its way into the region here, driving, some heavy rainfall for some folks out there. Once again, especially towards like Louisiana, which once again, we'll get more into that here in a few minutes. But yeah, for Saturday, we do have a little bit of a risk for thunderstorms here. Now, moving into Sunday, there is also the continuation of a little bit of thunderstorm activity with that generalized thunderstorm risk here for Sunday, mostly just across mostly just across southern Louisiana here in general. And when taking a look at the extended range outlook here for the next week, we are not expecting any forms of severe weather to occur. However, stay tuned, because I'm also watching the possibility here for maybe some more thunderstorms, probably more towards like the Tennessee Valley area here. Confidence right now is questionable, but here in the later portion of the video, we'll get more into that, and I'll let you guys know, kind of what we could potentially see as we will be having another cold front roll its way through the region here. Alrighty, everybody, hop on over here into the flooding risk here regarding the next several days for the flooding potential here from the Weather Prediction Center. So for today, we're actually not expecting any forms of flooding to occur because, when we're looking at the radar, there's really not a whole lot going on for today. However, that will change here for tomorrow. So tomorrow's outlook here, we do have a little risk here for flooding, just a level 1 threat across areas here of the western side of Washington State, excluding Seattle. They're not in the region here. This is for a lot of the coastal areas here and some of the more rural regions as well of kind of west central Washington State here. Now there is a little sliver here in extreme northwestern California towards like the Crescent City area here. Just a potential for a little bit of flooding. This is at least a 5% chance for flooding across the green. So, pretty low probability overall, but flooding threat is there. Across the rest of the country, we do not have any forms of flooding threats here for tomorrow. Now, like we were talking about here, there is going to be a pretty good amount of rainfall in the south yet to come, but we don't really think flooding is going to be much of a problem for you folks. Yeah, there will be potential of a couple of inches of rainfall for some of these regions here, as we're going to get into once we, break into the models and whatnot. But, regarding tomorrow, we do not have any form of flooding threat here in the south. Now, whenever we hop over here into Sunday's outlook here, across the Pacific Northwest, the threat continues. We still do have that marginal risk here across coastal Oregon, coastal Washington State, and areas east of Seattle slightly. But actually, we do have a little bit of another area here in western Montana, northern Idaho, for the potential of some, localized flooding, relatively a low threat. So this scale goes from a level 1 to a level 4. The higher the number, the more likelihood of flooding there is. And since we're in a level 1, it's a relatively low-end flooding threat, but remember, it still is an active flooding threat, therefore there is still potential for flooding. So just a little bit of a heads up there for Sunday. Now, working our way into the extended range here for Monday to start off the week. Pretty much same thing, 3 days in a row here for, western Oregon along the coastline, western Washington State. Like I mentioned, we're going to be getting a pretty good amount of rainfall and storm systems to be rolling through the region here. So flooding is going to be a concern, especially for some of those coastal regions here, with the rest of the country not really seeing any form of flooding threat. And then lastly, working our way into Tuesday. As of right now, Tuesday, there's actually no areas here in the country regarding the potential for flooding. So really the only flooding threat for the next 5 days remains in the Pacific Northwest. But like we mentioned, once again, there will be a pretty good amount of rainfall in the south that we'll have to monitor too, which we'll, once again, get more into here in a few moments. Alright, everybody, so hopping on over here into the rainfall accumulations here, starting off in the southeast here with the American GFS model. So we actually do have potential for a pretty good amount of rainfall here over the next couple of days. And as you can kind of see, the GFS suggests the possibility of a good maybe 1-2 inches, locally higher amounts being possible across areas of Louisiana, possibly out there towards like southern Mississippi and whatnot. Coastal Texas likely remaining under an inch here according to this model. And even Florida, southern, south central Florida could get a pretty good amount of rainfall overall. Now remember, that is one model. Now when hopping over to the European model, not as much rainfall for some of these regions as the GFS was suggesting, but still a pretty good amount. Locally amounts up to 2 or more inches in some spots, showing a little bit more accumulation for areas out by Houston with a couple of inches being possible, but a lot less for areas like Louisiana and Mississippi overall. Now we have the NAM, which is the mid-range American model, which kind of agrees on the GFS here in terms of showing a good 2 or more inches across regions here of Louisiana and Mississippi. So it seems like the NAM here kind of agrees with what the GFS was suggesting overall. Also still a pretty good streak of rainfall a little bit further south into Florida as comparing to what the GFS showed here in general. But overall, pretty good amount of precipitation across the way, but as of now, there is no flooding risk, but we'll definitely stay tuned for that possibility. Now, hopping our way up here into the Pacific Northwest, we have a lot of rainfall expected, and especially those upper elevations here of Washington State. A good 6, 8, or more inches possible across the region over the next several days across the region, which I think I said that twice, but a lot of rain is expected for those regions here. Also throughout Oregon, several inches along the western side, but also for northern Idaho and like western Montana. According to GFS here, a good 2, maybe 3 or more inches could be possible regarding rainfall, which we do have that flooding risk, I believe, for Monday, but it could be Sunday, where we do have that threat for flooding potential across the region. Now, when looking at Euro, it's not as significant, showing maybe a little bit less rainfall, maybe 1 or 2 inches, locally higher amounts being possible for, Idaho and western Montana here. But for the west here, it actually shows a lot more rain for like coastal Oregon, as comparing to what the GFS was suggesting here. But still, local amounts of several inches, well over 6 or so inches, will be, quite expected at this point, considering we do have pretty good support between the American and the European model. Now, in terms of the NAM here, once again, kind of agreeing as well, some local spots well over 6 inches or a half a foot of rain could be a big problem. And of course, areas out there by Idaho and like western Montana, kind of agreeing with more of what the Euro is suggesting, probably 1 or 2 inches, locally higher amounts, upwards of 3 or more could be possible. So that's how much rain we are expecting here across the country here, over the next couple of days. And as you can kind of tell here, this is for now until the 25th, essentially the early 25th. Just a bit of rain in the south is expected here in the Pacific Northwest. But like I said, we have that high pressure in place across much of the country. So for the next several days, it's going to be relatively nice. So let's go ahead and work our way over here into the extended range and the potential actually for maybe even some thunderstorm activity towards the Tennessee Valley and possibly even a little bit of winter weather mixed in as well. Alrighty, everybody, so hopping on over here into the models, taking a look at the American GFS model run. So like we were just talking about here a little bit ago, we have this really strong area of high pressure across the central country here, even the west as well, keeping a lot of that nasty weather out of the country, minus the cold, of course, but, is keeping a lot of the country relatively good to go. However, we work our way down in time here, and we're going to start to get a lot of moisture working its way up across the Pacific Northwest. A little bit of that heavy rainfall like we were talking about here in the southeast here for right around the 23rd overall. And, once again, Pacific Northwest getting a lot of moisture. Some snowfall for those upper elevations here towards like Idaho and Montana and whatnot. But there will definitely be a good amount of moisture. Now, this is not going to be the only system here. There's going to be more than one storm system rolling through. Once again, so rain in the south, rain in the Pacific Northwest. That will also go over Florida right around the 24th. Could be just a little bit of a rainy day for you guys. So we have the one system that impacts the Pacific Northwest here for right around the 23rd, here in the 24th. Another storm system here right around the 25th as well. Now, post the 25th, going into 26th, high pressure will build in once again across the Pacific Northwest, finally calming things down. But then you notice we have another little shot here, another cold front that rolls through here right around the 26th and the 27th. You can kind of see this line here where there could be some rain and perhaps maybe even some winter weather occurring here for right around the 26th and the 27th, which could be impactful for portions of the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, and the Northeast here overall. So anything further beyond this point is just a little bit out of reach because, as you guys probably know, the further you go into these models, the more inaccurate things do tend to get. So there's really only a certain range that we can kind of really look in, essentially, to kind of get a good understanding of what we can expect here. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what we have going on here. Now, in order to confirm this, we're going to hop over to Euro here, the ECMWF, starting over. Once again, we do have this high pressure in place across the Midwest here. Of course, the Pacific Northwest getting a bit of moisture. That first big storm rolls through here for tomorrow across the Pacific Northwest, driving a lot of moisture. Potential for thunderstorms, as we mentioned here as well. Working our way here for tomorrow into the 23rd on Sunday across the south here. A bit of moisture for you folks out there as the Pacific Northwest continues to get bombarded by a lot of precipitation overall. And then, of course, we approach our way here right around the 25th. Things start to light up across the Pacific Northwest here. And, of course, that other disturbance, that other storm system rolls through, which Euro kind of shows that cold front there as well. So there is a bit of support between the GFS and the European ECMWF models, showing that there will possibly be a system here right around the 26th and the 27th, which we'll have to look out there for, for the possibility for maybe some thunderstorms, as we'll get more into here in a few minutes, but also maybe even a little bit of winter weather here as well. Now, there is something interesting here. Now, with all of that rainfall across the south that we're watching, I don't know if you guys probably noticed this, but as the system rolls its way into the Atlantic, it actually picks up some really, pretty good amounts of moisture and really does strengthen here just off the coast of New England, which could be a problem for areas out by Nova Scotia. We don't typically forecast for other people, outside of the mainland U.S. We mostly just focus on the U.S., but, this could actually be a concern for some of those areas in eastern Canada if this does occur. I mean, a cyclone of, 970 something millibars, roughly equivalent to Category 2 strength, pressure-wise, from the Euro is suggested. The GFS, on the other hand, here, as you can kind of tell, doesn't really take this approach. So there is still a little bit of uncertainty here, of course. But I'm just saying, if it did occur to where we do get this cyclonic activity and we do really pick up strength here once once that mass rolls into the Atlantic, that could be something that we need to track overall. So we'll go ahead and keep you guys updated. Alrighty, everybody, so there's a few more things I do want to take a look at here before we go ahead and head off here. So we are going to look at that potential for possibly some thunderstorm activity here right around the 26th, as we were talking about earlier. So we work our way down in time, and as we get that cold front that we were mentioning here a while back, according to the GFS, and we'll also look at the Euro here as well, there might be some forms of instability. This seems like a possible new trend here with the models, of maybe some instability, not really a whole lot per se, but possibly enough to get some thunderstorm activity going here right around the 26th for the afternoon and evening here, as we do have this cold front that kicks off. Now, I don't necessarily think this is going to be like any big time severe weather event or anything like that, but it is going to be a possibility, maybe, for some thunderstorm activity. In terms of those winds, we do have a little bit of a trough, a little bit of a system coming through here, as we've been kind of keeping an eye out there for. There still is a bit of uncertainty with this, but, there is a little bit of wind shear here according to GFS, which, could get some storm organization going if we did have those thunderstorms. One of the big limitations here, though, is going to be those dew points. Typically for severe weather events and whatnot, you want your dew points in, 50-degree dew points, especially upper 50s, can work. But, you really want that Goldilocks zone to be right around the 60-degree dew point range, which, there will be that potential still for some thunderstorms, but I just don't really think any full-on organized thunderstorm activity here. Now, looking at the Euro regarding this as well, you can kind of see that there might be some bits of instability. The Euro kind of suggests that instability possibly a little bit further to the southwest for more areas out there towards Arkansas and Texas. So, as you can already see here, there is, a bit of uncertainty and whatnot. So, not to take this thing too serious right now because, there still is a lot of unknowns in general. But, we'll have to just keep an eye on it. We'll have to just keep an eye on it and just, watch it over the next couple of days. And if this turns into something, then we'll let you know. But as of now, it's not really anything super concerning. It's just something I wanted to mention in this video. Okay, guys, so the last thing I do want to go ahead and talk about here is the potential for some decently strong winds here to occur coming up. We're going to take a look here at the GFS once again here. So we work our way down in time, and of course we have that high pressure we were talking about currently in place. We get those storms across the Pacific Northwest and whatnot. But as we approach our way right around the 25th and 26th here, there's going to be that potential here that we could be seeing some heavy winds across these central countries. You can kind of see here from the GFS, a good widespread amount, maybe 20 to 25 knots worth of winds or whatnot, which, sustained pretty strong winds. Nothing super crazy, but there is going to be higher gust potential here for right around the 26th, as we do have that frontal system that kind of rolls through. So on the backside, there could definitely be some gusty winds and whatnot. Hopping over here to the Euro regarding that potential as well, just to get a little bit of more than one model support here. You can actually see that the Euro agrees as well, and possibly even a little bit stronger with those winds here across the central country, mostly just the Great Plains, essentially. So I just wanted to go ahead and mention that as well. So just keep it out there for right around the 26th. Just don't be surprised if it does get a little windy out here towards the central country here overall. But alrighty, everybody, well, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you guys did enjoy it, consider leaving a like, hitting that subscribe button. It'd be greatly appreciated. And once again, if you guys do want to help support us with our new computer, like I said, you guys can take a look at the bottom right hand of the screen with our Venmo and our Cash App. If you guys would like to support us and help get us to our new computer, this computer is basically just a old computer that is barely even running and functionable, which, it's kind of on its last legs. I cannot stream on this thing. It's too old for all that. But anyways, my friends, it would be greatly appreciated if you guys would like to check that out. But alright, everybody, well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. If you have not already, consider leaving a like, hitting that subscribe button. It'd be greatly appreciated. And alright, my friends, catch you all in the next one.